So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to welcome everyone at Kino Sereda session. My name is Maksym Nakonechnyi. I'm going to be the moderator of our today's event. And I would like to remind you that Kino Sereda is the range of events that are dedicated to the film industry, to the development of film industry in Ukraine that has been organized by the Contemporary Ukrainian Cinema organization. This season of Kino Sereda is being supported by Ukrainian Cultural Foundation, and we're really grateful to them for that. And this season is going to be held throughout next 2 months, so every Wednesday. And our today's event is going to be, let us say, the first in this season, because we have had opened this season with an offline screening of the Ukrainian short films by Ukrainian directors in quarantine. But now we're going to get to the professional events that are going to be held in the framework of our series of Kino Sereda this year that is dedicated to the development of film projects and ideas. And the main topic of today's webinar and web class is the festival strategy for your film. And I have the honor to introduce you with our today's speakers, one of the most experienced film managers and cultural managers who used to be the general producer of Odessa International Film Festival and who is now the independent film producer and screenwriter, Julia Sinkevych. So please welcome. Hi. Well, screenwriter, that was a little bit too much, so I'm not there yet for writing scripts. But as far as I know, I think that everything is possible, especially knowing this conditions and the good times we're living on, and how many perfect events are happening around us. So yes, maybe I will even start writing films as well. Well, thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you very much for the invitation. Everything looks really fine, even though online we all wish to see each other in real life, but face to face, but this is what we have now. So our today's topic is going to be very interesting for lots of people, especially for those people who are only starting their way in film, when they're only working with this first full feature films or short films. But I know it as well will be interesting for the experienced directors because they were still looking to find their niche in the film festival map all over the world. And I do believe they also want to be shown, to be screened at different film festivals. They want to receive the awards and feel the response of the many different audiences all over the world. So today we will try to find the recipes for being successful there. Of course, we will not be able to cover everything, but please remember that you can have your questions asked as well. We're going to get to all of your questions in the end of the session. I would like to ask you to turn on my presentation, the second slide. Yeah, this is the main topic of our today's event, but yes. So let us just recall what a film festival is and how did they come up to us and what is the main reasons for the festival to appear, because the first film festival is the Venice Film Festival that has been found in 1932. Why there was a need for a film festival to be established? Because everyone has understood since film has been discovered, has been created, we all understood that film is a type of art that influences many people simultaneously. And the format of the film festival has been established in the times of dictatorship in Italy in order to be used as a tool of a propaganda. But of course, in time, the situation has changed and everything turned out to be quite in a different way. And the film festivals are currently covering a specifically different role that they have been established too. So film festivals are now a very important part of the film industry overall. They are the important part of the overall complex ecosystem. And they're not only created for the screenings of the films for the audience, even though it is a very important part, because basically with this amount of films that are currently available for the audience, this is the very good way how you can reach different audiences in participating in different festivals, to show some films that might not be a competitor to the big blockbusters, the author films, the films that are experimental films that are unique. And this is a very important topic, and the film festivals are the best places for this kind of films to find their audience and to find their response. advance, first of all. And of course, film festivals are really powerful point for film industry, business-wise, distribution-wise, promotion-wise, strategy-wise. I'm thinking of what is going to happening with the film further on, how the careers for certain directors and producers are going to be developing further on as well. So basically, this kind of events, this kind of initiatives are being held in the framework of the film festivals, and the business is being done in the film festivals as well. There are many different film festivals available right now all over the world, and as far as I've heard, and as far as somebody has mentioned, that there are around 3,000 different film festivals, and there is the constantly growing number of film festivals. They're all looking for some certain niches. They're all looking for some certain goals to cover. And basically, at this very first slide, then you can see like what film festivals we're applying, what film festivals we provide our films for. I think that's everyone knows, and even for the people who have never been connected to the film industry, they know about the Class A film festivals, the A-list film festivals. It sounds really cool. It sounds like they're the biggest, the coolest film festivals. It's almost true, but basically this kind of classification is connected to the classification that the FIAP organization has created. This is an international association of producing organizations. They've decided they want to classify the film festivals. One, the number of film festivals has risen. They decided we have to provide some certain range. So they wanted just to create a specific range for the film festival, just to give this opportunity to identify the status of the film festivals in the film industry. They've identified the 16 film festivals. There are the so-called A-list festivals. Those are the festivals that should have some specific characteristics. They should meet some certain criteria and keep on following those criteria to preserve the A-list status. Well, I do believe that is mostly about the premieres of the film. So basically, these festivals, they're always showing the premieres in their program. Before that, none of the films participating in the festival competition should not be shown anywhere else before, because this protects the exclusivity of the program of the film festival. At a certain period when this classification and range has been introduced, it was very important that before the films were in the analog format, when they were speaking about the film itself, that was very expansive and complex, just, process-wise. It was really complicated to deliver these films from festival to festival. There were some certain negotiations, there were some certain discounts from those kind of film festivals as well. The A-listers as well, they create the international dimension of their program, of their professional audience and participants. So they have to make sure that the international press is going to be presented at the festival. The festival program has to be structured with the international languages. They're showing the films in the original language with additional language subtitles, creating the best conditions so that the festival met the most international standard and international and global scale. And thus we now have the 16 film festivals in the A-list: the Cannes Film Festival, Berlin Film Festival, Venice Film Festival. We're speaking about Warsaw Film Festival and Tokyo, Beijing Film Festival. There are 16 of those film festivals, and we now know that there are some newcomers in the A-list film festival as well. So this is the cream of the cream, basically, for all of the directors and producers and people who are making films. Everyone wish to get there. And those are the film festivals that are really the toughest to break through, but it is possible. And we know there's examples, and with Ukrainian films as well. Thanks to God, they have already been participating in the international A-list festivals in a couple of recent years already. The other film festivals, there are the B-list, the C-list. It doesn't mean that they're they're worse or they're not that good. It means that they're slightly different. I would say that for this kind of festivals, there are much more opportunities there. They're not mostly oriented on having the exclusivity of the first screening of the film. They have broader opportunities to show the films that they really like. And they also have additional accreditation. Only one film festival in Ukraine has been accredited by FIAP. This is the Molodys Film Festival. They're very proud of that, as far as I know. So, because to get this certification and accreditation is not that easy. I do not actually know what kind of preferences this accreditation gives, but I do believe that this is a very good thing just to, categorize the film festivals to get them in a certain range. But that's not all. It's not all about the quality of the film festival or the prestige around the film festival. Not only whether they're included into the A list or B list, the organization, the program of the festival, and the opportunities that the festival brings for the further on distribution of the film or the collaboration between the filmmakers, what kind of media coverage it gives as well. This is something that is important for all of the film festivals as well, even if the film festival is not included into the A list. I know even some film festivals from this list that are kind of even losing out on the level of the organizations to the festival that have no accreditation at all. But for the films, for the authors, for the teams of the film, they are much more important mostly because of the media coverage they provide. There are some topical film festivals. There are some film festivals that will only be showing the films on ecology or on gender topics. There are many different topics that can be covered by the topical film festivals. There might be the film festivals that are dedicated to films from certain regions, so like Eastern Europe, or only showing the films made in Asia, or it's going to be like independent American films. So there are the festivals that are choosing the certain topics that is important for them and having this opportunities to show the films that they're screening and creating a range of events in the framework of the festival. They're given the relevance to the topic. They're given the building the awareness and building the advocacy for this certain topic to their audience, and thus they follow their mission. There are also the genre film festivals like the comedy festivals or the festivals for the fantasy or sci-fi films. There might be the horror movies festivals, so on and so forth. This kind of film festivals, they also have their audience, they also have their niche, and they also have the fame. I do believe that the comedy films festivals are really good. Unfortunately, in Ukraine, we do not have a comedies film festival yet. So yes, genres, topics, directions, they can build their program as well, and you should make sure you consider it when you apply. There are the so-called multidisciplinary film festivals that are not specifically made for film festivals for film, but they have their own screening program. They can be as well very prestigious, and they can build up their film program that will be creating additional angle to the overall program as well. They can include musical performances or any additional performative acts into their program as well. There are the professional film festivals as well. And by the way, the Cannes Film Festival, it is basically the professional film festival. It's not that much targeted for the audience. You cannot buy a ticket to Cannes Film Festival and go to the movies. You can watch, for example, the Cannes Classic program that you can watch on the beach as you pass by, but mostly Cannes Film Festival is targeted for the film professionals and the film industry. And the main audience for most of the films that are shown in Cannes Film Festival are the people who are working in film. People who are working in the film industry, the selectors of the film festival, producers, directors, actors, the representatives of different institutions connected to films. This is mostly for the film professionals. That is the professional event, first of all. There are some festivals for the archive movies as well, and they should be mentioned. That is a very interesting direction right now. And in Ukraine, we have a film festivals like that in Ukraine. That is the festival, The Silent Night, because they show the archive films as well. They're building their program by rethinking the Ukrainian and international classics. They're creating those special projects with modern and contemporary music and voiceover just to rethink and to give the modern voice to the archive films that is very different from what we are used to watch now. And when you would like to participate into a film festival, if you would like to get to a film festival, you would like to ask when. You might have already ended up there your filming and you would like to send your first film to the festival. But actually, the festival story starts very early, and you can even includes it into the production line of film. So when you have a pre-production, the production itself, and post-production period, so it can be compared with the same strategy if you would like to promote your film for the film festivals, because you should start your promotion at a very early stage, even at the project stage, when your film has only been conceptualized, maybe even before you have the script, because sometimes at the film festivals you can present the idea itself. You can only have a treatment, or you can only have the overall general idea, and maybe when you still do not have the full team, the full crew to be working there, but there are some certain opportunities to present your idea as well. Why you should do that? With a couple of reasons. Because how can you present your ideas? First of all, there are the professional programs and the professional events, the film markets, the certain sections that are dedicated for the presentations or the pitchings of the projects, pitchings and the presentation for the work in progress or just the ideas of the films. The film festivals usually invite the experts, professionals, your potential partners, potential buyers, distributors, film festival selectors. All of these people are going to be invited, and they will have this opportunity to learn about your project more at this earlier stages of production. And they can give you a lot of advice of how you can conceptualize it, how you can change it or amend it, and what you should consider further on, maybe the changes in the script or adding up additional partners from the different countries that will provide you the certain expertise that will be needed for you, maybe giving you the opportunities to find the set designer or the costume maker. Maybe they will get you the contact of your DLP. So you have to understand that it is a good opportunity for your film and for your projects to be seen and to receive the specific expert feedback from the people who know good about films. There is as well opportunity for some media to know that there is a project existing, they're being prepared, they're getting ready. I'm sure that you have seen those articles in the press that we're expecting to see those films this and that next year. How do they know that? They know that from this kind of events. They know that those projects are being prepared. They're already starting to speak about that in the professional events in the framework of film markets that are usually held in the framework of film festivals. But speaking on the strategy of working with your films in festivals, that is very important to present your project as early as possible, because the selectors of the film festivals, they are always participating in this kind of events. They're following the progress, they're tracking the project's progress from the very early stages of production, very early stages of existence. And sometimes they can even select you at some certain age and at this stages as well. Sometimes maybe like only with the big names that the selectors can select you even when they haven't seen the script. But this is basically some single cases. But usually, if you're presenting, if this festival is going to be selecting the projects to be presented in the professional section, it means that the festival is already interested in you, because your project, it meets their ideas of what kind of film they would like to present. It is compliant to their values as well, and they're interested to have your premiere in the framework of this film festival, where they give you the platform to present it as a project. Right now, the Berlin Film Festival has ended just a couple of days ago, and the main prize was awarded to the Romanian film. And by the way, this project has been presented in Berlinale co-production market, has been presented as a project a couple of years ago. And this year it has gained the main award of the Berlin Film Festival. So basically you can easily track that. You can easily track this progress. So I would like to really ask you to apply for pitchings for different platforms that give you the opportunity to present your project at the earlier stages, because it gives you really good opportunities. It can give you some financial support as well, because usually there are some additional money prizes or some kind of service prizes as well. That can be some many value for services of post-production or pre-production for your film. There can be some services on promoting or distributing your film further on. It also gives you additional opportunity for allocating different resources to get your film made or to promote your film further on. At the stage of the ready film, of course, you are participating in the program of film festivals, and there's a lot of work as well, and a lot that really needs a lot of power, a lot of strength, a lot of people, a lot of resources, a lot of attention, even though at this stage everyone is already exhausted and would like to forget about that movie ever happened. But there's a different type of work with film stars here. A lot of things a lot of things lie on how the film is going to be launched, and its fate is basically sometimes is decided on the launch of the film. Well, even when the film has already been in distribution, maybe the film has already been seen on the television and in VOD platforms, sometimes the films still can have the festival career with that and can be traveling to the film festivals in the framework of the special programs, retrospective programs, so on and so forth. So basically, the festival history is quite a long period of time while your film is still going to be screened at different film festivals even after it has been in distribution. But the first and the starting point, the launch at the film festivals, the first screening is the most important. You have to get prepared to that very well. Let us show the next slide in the presentation, and I'm going to tell you that basically for the film festivals, of course, there is different programs for a film festival. What program is that's very different for very different film festival. To what programs you should apply, people sometimes are getting really mixed up with how it's being done. People do not understand how it can be done, so on and so forth. Mostly, it's not a universal option, but most of the people apply for the competition program because everyone follows the competition program. The film professionals follow it, the media follow it, and the competition is always the most prestigious to participate in. The competition program, there can be a couple of those. There can be the main competition, the second competition, there can be like the debut competition or the competition for the directors who have already made a couple of films before that. But the competition program is the main aim, the main goal that a lot of people would like to get to and a lot of directors would like to go to. It doesn't really mean that if you got to quite a different program, it's a bad thing to happen. No, sometimes the films are even better there. But if we speak about this classical ideal path in the film festival, so I don't know whether it can be called classical and ideal after 2020, but we're still having this tradition in place. So still, yes, competition program is your target number one. There are the out of competition programs that are being created based on many different criteria as well. That can be some topical programs, that can be the films that didn't meet to the program. That can be the kind of a master that that it doesn't really fit into the competition program because there are the talented and acknowledged directors as well. Or this is the program for the debut films when they cannot be taken to the competition yet, but they're dedicated to some certain topic or territory-wise selected. And the people who are making up the program directors, they see that this way and they would like to include the certain films into certain programs. And by the way, in Cannes, we've had the Madagascar movies and Madagascar films shown there, but that was basically a different aim for those screenings. Of course, it was quite clear that the Madagascar animation is not a festival film, but basically the kind of interesting stories, and it was the European premiere, and it's quite clear that the distributors and the buyers from all over the world, they are located at this festival and in this place, and it's a very good launch for the American film, for American blockbuster in the European market. But the different film festivals have a quite a different story about that, and it can be as well just one film that you would like to show specifically. The same applies for any kind of special screenings, because the special screenings can be dedicated to a certain person or to a certain topic or to a certain date, to a certain country as well. And those programs can include the different films, and you can join those programs as well. Most of the times, this kind of programs will be inviting you to participate in that. It's not like you can apply to these programs, but in my experience, sometimes for the films that have been applied to the competition programs, we invited those films to participate in the parallel programs because we've understood that this film would fit better in the out of competition program. It will fit much better, and we'll have this opportunity to show this film, because in the competition it will be not very good for this film, or like we really want to show these films but we cannot fit it. It happens with us, and it happens with so many festivals as well. There are some professional events that I mentioned as well: the film markets, the educational programs, the conferences, or the expo from the new film equipment. There's not a single film festival, big film festivals and prestige film festivals, that do not have industrial section. And by the way, it sometimes can be a separate legal entity, but they always have the big film markets: the Berlin film market, Venice film market, Toronto film markets, Cannes film markets. So this is the big meeting place. You have to be there, even if you don't have a film, even if you have nothing. It will be very important for you to get your knowledge, just to get yourself seen. Maybe you're looking for a project as a producer that will be very useful for you. Maybe you'll see the project that you love. Maybe you would like to become the partner of this project, or you can meet the directors there and the authors or other film professionals there as well that will be useful for you in your project. So that is why I'm always advising people to participate in these professional events for the young directors. For example, there is the Berlinale Talents platform and Berlin Film Festival, where the young directors are invited. Maksym, have you been there? Have you been participating there? No? Oh, okay. But yeah, the many Ukrainians have been participating in the Berlin Talent Workshop. And they also have a very nice place for film industry, because in 10 days there you will have this full spectrum with the meetings with all of the friends who are doing their businesses in the best way possible, and they can be very useful for you to promote your film further on in the festival as well. Film agents, sales agents, the different foundations, the representatives of festivals, you meet them. There's many different lectures available. It's not that hard to apply. Yes, there is a big competition, but it is possible for Ukrainians as well. So Berlinale Talents is very interesting story, and I always recommend it to all of people to participate there. I think I would like to get to the next slide. Yes, well, I'm going to have everything very, very, very simple. Not that easy as it might look from the first sight, but what I wanted to say, that's how do we select a program? How do the selectors choose the program? Sometimes it's just one person, sometimes it's a group of people. Maybe it will be the group of people who are choosing films for the specific programs. That's very different, and it might differ depending on the scope of the film festival, depending on the internal rules that the festivals have. It depends on how the film festival sees its mission, its main goals, and how the film festival functions. Usually, the big film festivals, they have a couple of parallel programs, the competition programs, out of competition programs, and as usually, they all have their two-tier section, two-tier history of selections when they have the, let's say, these delegates for some certain territory. So people responsible for the America or for the Eastern Europe or for China. So sometimes those selectors are being divided territory-wise, and they're going to be collecting the most of the films, creme de la creme, for those territories. They're selecting it for the next selectors of the film festival. And there is the selection committee, the programming committee, that can be made from a couple of people in the big film festivals. Sometimes it can be one person, but you can consider how many films applying to the big film festivals and how this program is being made. The selection or the programming committee is going to be selecting those films that will build up the backbone of the program that they're responsible for, that they're covering. Speaking on the main competition, so yes, the faces of those big film festivals, there is Thierry Fremont in Cannes Film Festival and Alberto Barbera for Venice Film Festival, and in Berlin right now this Christian, the former director of the Locarno Film Festival, I can't recall his name, but okay, basically they are responsible with their reputation, with their face, they are responsible for all of the competition program. They take all the criticism for that. You have to remember that when the program is being created, there are many factors that are considered as well. It is understood that this program has to reflect different territories, different directions, different visions, different levels of the directors presented in the program, to include both beginners and the acknowledged directors as well. You can only imagine how many films there would like to be included into those 20 or 22 films of the main competition programs for the big festivals. There's a huge numbers of film applying. And of course, it's not that easy to get in, and you should not be sad if you're not getting into this list from the first try. Those are the big festivals. They also have this dilemma as well when they have to choose the films. And, myself and my colleagues from the program department of festivals, they have been in those situations when we really had to refuse those participation for those films that were really, really loved, but we know that they didn't fit into the program this year. So you should not be sad. You should just keep on looking for a different festival that will definitely would like to show your film. And every film, I have even seen those films in it that I felt like they're definitely not a festival story in those films, but they're still fine. The festivals that would like to show them. Maybe you're not going to get to La Rue Croisette into Cannes Film Festival, but you will definitely get to an interesting festival that will really like your film, that will get a lot of people watching your film, that will really love this film, and they will really like you, and they will really appreciate it, and it would be much better even than the six that you will never be noticed in the Cannes Film Festival among other 600 admissions. So basically you have to keep on believing in yourself and keep on looking for a festival. What you should consider when you're building your festival strategy and you are thinking about your festival strategy for your film, of course, you have to consider what is the main vision and the main mission for this film festival. What is the vision? What is the mission? What the films that are showing? How are they different from many other film festivals? And it's very easy to do, usually in the 21st centuries, because you can just take a look at the list of the films that have been in the program in previous years. What films have been awarded with the best awards? What kind of directors the festival likes? What topics they communicate to their audience? For example, the Berlin Film Festival, as far as I know, they will never acknowledge, even though that directly they've said that we'll never show political films, or we never show the films about the politics and the social film. But this is basically it about this festival. The festival provides the platform and provides the green lights for the directors who are bringing up very serious social topics in the countries with really challenging political situations. And basically the Berlin Film Festival really loves this kind of films. The Cannes Film Festival, it might be slightly different, because the Cannes Film Festival, they are mostly using the big names, mostly using the aesthetics and the aesthetical component to that. But in the same time, they're showing some films that are very different, and they can also fit into the certain programs of Cannes Film Festival as well. So you have to run through the program carefully. Well, basically, the more films you see, the better. But you have to actually understand what is currently being made in the world, what is of interest from other directors. That will be very useful for you as well. But it is useful also to know that what kind of festival you can apply to. Of course, in every country, there are the main film festivals, or even a couple of film festivals that are really the main for the country. That will be definitely your national premiere. If you're speaking about Ukraine, then I think you're aware what kind of festival I'm meaning. But speaking on the international film festivals, of course, you should learn what is the main topic of the film festival. And maybe your film, maybe you would really, really like to get to a certain film festival, but your film does not fit into their topic. And you will be really, really sad that you will not get that. But maybe you do not like the country or do not like the city where the other film festival is being held. But this is the best festival for you and the topic that you're covering. It is very important to read the rules, and to follow the rules and to keep up with deadlines. Of course, you might say that there's nothing unique that I've told you about that, but you cannot imagine how many people who are applying to that, the authors that are providing the films for the film festivals, read nothing. They do not see what kind of film competition programs you have, and maybe in this program their film does not fit at all. It's not eligible for them, so this territory can never be considered for this film. Or maybe the timing does not fit to this film festival's program, and they're really sad that they never receive the replies. They're really sad that their film is not included into the program because they haven't been seen or watched or whatever. But in this case, it is very important to learn about that as well. I just remember that, in Odessa Film Festival, we've have had those different types of claims by producers, sales agents, and directors. Why do not you show my short films from South Africa? Because, we do not show international short films. We only show international Ukrainian films because we have this program there. And why are you still applying to that? It's still being sent to us, even though we have the certain rules, even though we had some regulations. So timing is as well important for the festival requirements as well. This is mostly about the film who are in the mid length. This is basically the very nice for all of the film festivals. They have the different strategies of how they deal with. They all of the festivals have their own understanding of short films. In Odessa Film Festival, I recall there was I don't know, maybe the year 2018, when we had a lot of long short films, let's put it this way, that used to have 27 minutes in run or a half an hour in run. Basically, those films are very loved by the selectors because you cannot show a lot of films in one slot. But basically, if it's a very short film, just like, for 3 minutes long or 5 minutes long, this is again very hard to get it into the program. It will be really hardly evaluated by the jury. It's really hard to evaluate and to compare it to the other films. How can we compare the film of 3 minutes with a film of 27 minutes long? How can you put them into one line? How can you put them into comparison and competition? But this is something that happens. So at your editing stage, in the final stages of film production, you have to consider that as well from the film festival. There is a different example there. We had like a 8 hours film of Laudias that has been shown in Berlin film program, that everyone has been watching it for the whole day with a lunch break. This can happen as well, but this is basically a unique case, a single case. And I do believe that Diaz, he was not reading about the regulations of Berlin Film Festival. I do believe that he was invited straight away to show his film like that. Deadlines, keep up with the deadlines. It is very important to send it in time, and I would recommend you, if you can, if everything is ready for you, like if you just, the call has just been given, the application has just been opened, just send it straight away. Do not wait for the final moment to come, because all of the film festivals, all of the respectable film festivals are definitely going to watch all of the films that have been applied to them. They're going to be, living without sleep. For example, in Odessa Film Festival, we had this rule that at least 2 people have to watch each film, and not one person. But of course, you can never forecast the number of films that will be sent to you, especially in the final days, when there's been a lot of films that just been sent to us in one moment. So before the deadline is sets out and before you provide the program, most of the festivals, they always give their programs in the latest as possible, just to have this opportunity to watch everything that has been given to them, just to have this opportunity to process all of the films that have applied. And I do believe that it might not be changed, and it's not needed to be changed. so that the audience would have this opportunity to watch the freshest films and the best. So if you have this opportunity, so it would be very good if you will send the films before the program is being announced, when there just has been an open call for additional films, then you will have the most of attention dedicated for your film by the selectors of the festival. Well, it's not a guarantee, but there are going to be some higher chances to be considered for the festivals and to keep on writing the follow-ups. I think the people who have been working in film festivals, or maybe if you have been into these festivals, into this situation, when the deadline ends up, then some kind of pandemic happens. Everyone didn't have the internet connection there. Well, they had been traveling to the very, very, very far away located countries, and they've all has missed the deadline. So a couple of weeks after the deadline is closed, there are letters and sometimes baggings to be admitted as well. Sometimes the films are being admitted to the festival, but it's a very negative story for you and your reputation. So please keep that in mind and try to track the deadlines, try to apply in time. Of course, you should consider the reputation of the festival as well, because I've said there are many festivals that are currently being held all over the world, and it would be very good for all of you just to keep on checking with these festivals as well. Take a look at the site. What is the information about the previous years of the festival? How the festival lives when it's not being held? Whether they do anything else or no? Whether there are any additional events happening? Because a lot of festivals are being created, but their sites do not work. No one knows what is going on with them, or on the other hand, for example, for a couple of festivals, it had been a problem as well in the online format when the films have not been protected in the best way, and the festivals have losing their reputation. It influenced them as well. Or something that happens frequently, for example, right now in Vimeo, you can track who has seen your film, if it's a personal link that you have received. And it has happened that, that you have sent your screener for the festival and your film has never been seen, has never been watched. That really also gets into the reputation of the film festival. If you have sent it all the right way, but the film has never been opened and the link has never been reached, it means that the festival has no serious attention to your film, and it influenced the reputation of the festival, trust me. So that is very important to keep that in mind as well. You have to consider that, so that this premiere of your film, and by the way, this is the most valuable thing that you have, the international world premiere of your film. So you would not get into the situation that the festival cannot provide you with the needed presentation for the film. You have to consider the overall calendar plan for the festivals and for the territory. What do we mean by that? For example, if you have dreamt that your film would have been shown at the festival that is taking place in the end of the year, but the film is already ready at the beginning of this year, and you're waiting for the whole year to receive the positive answer and it never happens, you've spent a lot of time, you've lost a lot of time, you do have nothing what to do because your film is going to be slightly outdated for the next year. And the festival life of film is very short, usually only 2 or 3 years when the film is being circulated at the different festivals, sometimes even shorter. So you have already lost a year in this situation, so you have to keep on thinking fast. Of course, you can change the production date in the credits and you can try to amend it in some different ways. It can be done. That's not the best way to do that, but it is done sometimes. But still, once again, you have to keep on following what is the overall timeline when your film is going to be ready, just to keep up with this balance. How the film, when the film is made, when it is new, when it's exclusive, and when the festivals have been held. And keep on tracking the territory as well. What do we mean by that? That is getting back to the regulation point. The big film festivals, the big film festivals, the A-listers, they prohibit, like for example, Irina Tsilik's film is a good example of that. It has premiered in Sundance, and then it has been shown at the Berlin Film Festivals. Those are the big film festivals that show in the international premieres, but there are different territories and that is eligible. So you have to track it as well. You have to track it as well. What is going to be the international premiere for which territory? And you have to keep on following this idea that when you are providing your film to big international film festival or to the mid-range film festivals and national film festival, you have to keep in mind as well that there are certain money that are going to be paid for the admission as well. In Berlin, you will have to pay €100 for that. So for €50 for a short film, there's going to be the same fee in 115 Berlin. Oh yeah, 115 Berlin. Okay. So if you're applying to different number of film festivals, because like for example for the short film it may be just like €5, 5 or €10 just to provide to apply, but still it requires certain budgets. And you have to have it available. You have to include it into the overall budget. And if you're a producer, you have to consider that as well. You have to plan it into your budget or to look for some additional opportunities to get there in different foundations or different support programs that exist in order to cover that. Of course, sometimes it happens that the festivals are going to be inviting films to participate in their program, and of course it means that you're not going to be paying for that. It means that the festivals have already seen your films, and this actually means to what we have started with. If they have already seen the rough cut, or if they've seen some working materials on the film, for example in some kind of professional events at these film festivals, they can invite you and you will not pay for that. So it happens as well. Sometimes you can even ask for different kind of discounts, and there are many situations possible. So there are some situations when sometimes when the film festivals, they're also creating that, the communications with the film festivals is very important. There's no robots there, no kind of e-forms that will never answer you. So those are the people who like movies, who are watching these films many times, who are watching for these talented directors and authors all the time, and who are ready to open up new names that are going to be helping you with what they can. But you have to consider that as well when you're going to be building up your strategy for the film in the festivals. Of course, you might have the sales agents who are going to be working with you, but there's a very good idea and a very good idea. But basically, when you are more experienced and when you have already worked with the sales agents, they're always looking for some. When you're going to be working with the selectors, we're going to be working with agents who know all of the procedures or who know all of the selectors, who are actually working with all of the festivals, and they're sending your films in package for the festival. Sometimes they send you like 20 films from one company, so they're dealing with that. So sales agents, those are people as well who you have to search for your film. But then again, it does not give you the guarantee for success further on. It's not going to guarantee that they're going to be dealing with your film, because maybe they have other titles in their package that are much more important for them, that they can consider is going to give them better financial feedback, better financial reaction. Next slide, please. And we're going to be discussing at this slide of what you have to have as well for the application of your film and the participation of the film festival. Again, that's nothing like rocket science, nothing too complicated, but once again, that's very important. First of all, the film copy that you're going to be sending at the selection stage. I've already mentioned the Vimeo platform. There are some personalized links that you can send. I was very surprised, by the way, when a couple of times I have been talking to experienced directors and producers who they're very serious with sending the films through for the Google Drive, who are really serious with sending people links on the closed YouTube channel, or for example, for the transfer screeners version. So the films are being stored in some place wherever, and you have to download that. People are not going to be doing that. And from my experience, I can say that I have no idea who's doing that, but I'm sure that no one is going to be downloading your films to watch it. So please make sure that you're sending a protected link to the resources that is available for all over the world. Like, I don't know, maybe China has a little bit of different story, but it seems that there are resources that are available all over the world for it not to be some kind of local resource that the American selector or European selector cannot get to, or they have to register with some kind of really complicated pass to do that. So it has to be very simple and available. And I do believe that Vimeo is basically the most accessible service in this case because it's very easy for you. It's because definitely there are going to be some screeners that you can watch there. But big festivals, they're usually watching their films in the big screen. Sometimes they're requesting the DCP copies straight away. Those are the very serious films for the selection. But to apply, it is really okay to upload the film to Vimeo or any other resources. So basically, that's a very easy thing to be using. You don't have these warehouses for these DVDs or film copies, and everyone is having the opportunity to watch the film online on the bigger screen or on a smaller screen, depending what is available for them. What is as well um, important to have the dialogue lists and the subtitles. It is very important to do that as well. So this is something about the films that is very important. We have seen that when Ukrainian short films are being sent with English subtitles, and it is just terrible. You cannot read that. You cannot watch that. And just can't imagine that is going to be received by the selectors of other countries. In our case, we could at least understand and see that. So please do not save money to pay a good translator, to pay the good editor, so that your subtitles would be done in the best way and would cover those sense of those dialogues that you have got into it. Now, the sense that you have created in your film as well. The dialogue lists. Why do we need the dialogues? Because many times the festivals are doing their interpretation and their translation on their own and into different languages. You only provide the original and in the English version. Sometimes the English version is even being done by the festival itself. So please make sure that you include the dialogues. I know that for the short films, there is no dialogues or they are being rarely made, but please do that because you will need that. The quality of the press materials is as well very important. Any kind of press materials or press kits that you have, there are some even educational courses and initiatives that always are saying in what way you have to prepare to your synopsis, log lines. Log line is just basically one sentence or even less, but it has to be an important sentence that covers the essence of your film, and they have to present your film in the best way. Those are those selling points, if you can say it like this, that are going to be important for the audience and for the press and are going to be presenting your film for them. So you have to work on that. You have to make sure that those materials are going to be done in the best of quality, that they will be clear for them to intrigue, for them to impress the people, for them to make the people watch your film, because that's going to be published in the catalogs and the site of the festival. It's going to be sent to the media, and that is going to be further on used. So just as well as the audience is choosing, just going through the catalog and thinking, oh, nice picture, I'm going to watch this film, what kind of this picture will be, what the text will say, this is something that will get your chances higher that the film will be seen, that the film will be noted, that the film will be noticed. So when the selectors are choosing the materials, they're as well noting that, or while the materials are being prepared, what is going to be in the overall design, what kind of attitudes you have to your personal film, on whether it is seen that you're interested in the further on promotion of this film. Because as I've already said, the festivals, they're not robots. There are no websites or algorithms. There are the people, and, the selectors are the people who are working on that, and they're collecting the program. They're interested as well, so that the film that they have selected, your film, has been seen by the most of people. For it to have its media response and media coverage, so this film had been discussed. So in collaborating with them on many stages, your success will depend as well on the festival success of your film. Find some interesting facts from the sets, maybe like the scene has been made up for 150 takes, or you have just made the one single take to make it. Something interesting that can be included into the material, something interesting to learn about. Of course, if you will be having some interviews or telling about your film, and if you're going to say everything was good weather, everything was ideal, this is boring. So it's always interesting to learn about some really interesting things, like interesting twists. Maybe you have changed something when you have been filming, or think about it as well. Think about those kind of tricks and those kind of hints that you might use in those materials. I have added merch as well. You can be working on that as well, even on the projects type. It requires additional money as well, but it works good too. So because, it can be remembered easily, it's sometimes that is always noticeable. You can use it as an additional communication tool if you're only with a project at the festival, but everyone has already seen what kind of interesting things you're doing, like, I don't know, interesting phone cases or interesting postcards, whatever you can use there. So you can use whatever is available for you. And you should not feel sorry to spend the time and money for that. So for some good designers who can develop those creative ideas for you, because it will continue working for your film, continuing on promoting your film further on to make a separate festival story for that. Everything works here as in distribution. So, whatever you can use to make yourself noticed, do that. Prepare some photos from the film in good quality. Work with designer in the best way. Create a poster, maybe a couple of different versions of posters. For example, in our case, we had the situation with the Close Relatives film by Vitaly Mansky when the international poster was in yellow and blue, the inter-Ukrainian flag colors, and we have understood that we cannot use this poster in Ukraine because we cannot use the state symbols in the advertisement, and it has been a big problem for us. We needed to find some ways how we can deal with that. So please make sure you have different posters that you can use in different situations as well. That will be very good for you. Trailers, the same thing for that. Have couple of options for trailers or teasers if you are at the stage when you only have developed a project. Like, there are a lot of people, because of Ukrainian Film Foundation, with their help, have made a lot of teasers, and our European colleagues, they've said that it's a really good thing for us that we can make teasers. It doesn't happen frequently. So you will be definitely winning out if you have the teasers. Maybe you will have a different actors in the film, or maybe there's just going to be some part of the script that you're not going to be using, but you're going to show it in a teaser. But you will create the ambience, the atmosphere of the film, and you will be able to show some director's division and director's solution in the teaser as well. And it works only for the best for your product later on. Different types of trailers and different timings trailers. This is very important as well. It will be working for the best further on, because there are different tools for communication available right now. Because I know how the festivals are happening because I have the targeted commercial in the Facebook, like, oh, here goes Berlinale, here goes Cannes Film Festival. They have this very specific targeted short videos in stories in the Instagram, in Facebook. So you have to get into that content as well. And of course, providing the information about the directors and the crew. It has to be the very good format. If you would like to take them to the festival, they have to be ready for that in order to create the best interviews. And I have seen those cases as well when they have the actors who have been doing the greatest work in the film, and everyone is really loving that, and people are asked to say something, and people say, well, thank you, and they live. So yes, get them prepared. If you're a producer, if you're a director, so please get your actors prepared as well. If they don't like talking or whatever, but this is your tools for further on promotion, so please make sure that you will get them prepared as well. That's important on the stage of the presentation of your film. It seems like everything is very easy, and basically there is a big story about the sales agents, how to deal with them and how to work with them. When you have to sell your film to them, first of all, and the whole list is going to be needed by them as well, and you will have to have additional round of negotiations with well. So maybe you will have some certain task prioritized as well, and you have to be very realistic in evaluating your films. There are some films that should not get into the film festivals, like it's not their story. The films can go to the distribution straight away, and they will have the really good audience without participating in the festivals. But I am sure that 99.9% of directors that are making films, even the commercial films, they still want to get involved with the film festivals because it is a unique atmosphere, a separate world for the filmmakers that's exists only some certain period of time and gives you a lot of opportunities. And usually it goes like that. If your film has been selected to a big film festival, it will mean that you will have the good film history for the smaller film festivals, because everyone are looking up to the big film festival. Like for example, in Odessa Film Festival, we've invited many films specifically from the bigger film festivals. We have visited those film festivals for watching different works in progress, so on and so forth. And we've been inviting a lot of films directly. As far as I see, Max has already given me the sign that I should get wrapped up. So basically, yes, the final slide for the film festivals overall, yes, it all has been working nicely before 2020. The final slide, the one even lower. Okay, you can't see that fully. Can you see it on the full screen? Yes, thank you. So there was the festival calendar till 2020, and you can see those are the mostly big film festivals that have been divided throughout the year, how they have got into the different timings, so you could just, travel from one festival to another. What has happened in 2020? You know what has happened. No, nothing is clear of what is going on. All of the festivals, they've had made their own decisions of what is going to be going on with them. Some festivals got into online, so people have stopped being active during this time. Some people turn to the hybrid formats. Right now, this festival calendar is changing, constantly changing. It's quite clear because the situation with the pandemic has changed the overall approach to the film festivals all over the world, and all of the film festivals, they've got through some really hard times and really hard decisions that have to be made. And of course, for the authors who have finalized and completed this film in the end of the 2019, at the very beginning of 2020, it has really hit them hard, because sometimes they even had their premieres that have been approved for the film festivals, and the film festivals never happened. And of course, that there is always a choice to be made, and it's still relevant choice for the producers and the directors. What can they do with their film festivals in the film, what they can do with their films, to agree to the online format or no, to hold back the film for some better times, or should they get to the film festival that is going to be smaller, but still having this opportunity to show your film offline, because this is something that the directors like more. So there is no one sole answer to that. It's very individual for all of the films, and there's no winning strategy in this case as well, because unfortunately we're living in the really harsh times right now. But I still believe that film festivals that will continue to exist, maybe they will be slightly changing, because they have been changing throughout the history, throughout the moment that they have started to exist. But still, I believe that it's going to be the unique place to present your film, to show your film, and it's going to be the unique place to launch your film and to get to the farther audience, to the broader audience, a different audience that is going to be ready to watch your film, talk about your films, discuss it, and to go through it once again. So that's what's going on with film festivals right now. Everything is complicated, but those rules that I have mentioned today, and I think that we're going to be discussing with Max later on. So I think that those rules are still working, they're still relevant, maybe with some certain amendments, but those are still active, and what is the most important and the most complicated thing is just to forecast that and to create some certain calendar plan for the festivals to come. But all of the big festivals are going to stay there. They will be still working on, and they're still waiting for your films to be admitted. So this is very, very, very brief. And I think that we can get to very specific questions if we have some, and I will be really happy to cover those. Yes, thank you, Yulia. Thank you, Yulia. I haven't actually watched, I don't know how much time do we have left, actually, but I was looking for some questions, and I wanted to remind to all of our audiences that you can ask the questions. You can have your questions to Yulia in the chat box of our Zoom conference, or you can raise your hand and maybe can even ask it with your voice, or you can ask your questions at the specific platform where you're following us. If you're in YouTube, please do that in the comment section. If you're in Facebook, please do that in Facebook. We're going to ask your questions. So I'm going to be using my right as a moderator, and I'm going to ask a couple of first questions. And I see already that we have the whole line of those questions that we're definitely going to discuss. But before that, while I was listening to you, Yulia, what I have thought that it will be very important to note down what we have mentioned as well. We have mentioned the premiere and different territories, and we have actually asked of that as well. And I remember that, and I remember this moment, and people are usually mixed up with that. World premiere, international premiere, and national premiere. What are the differences? The European premiere, North American premiere, Asian premiere. There's many different notions to that. Can you have those two premieres in the same time? Let us try to get through this information in some way. Okay, let's try to do that. So I think that the Asian premiere and European premiere, it's quite clear. So how it works, geography-wise principle. For example, the first time the film has been shown in Europe in the broader sense of it, including Israel and Turkey, for example. The Asian premiere will be just the same, but international and the world premiere, these are sometimes mixed up things that is not really that easily cleared for a lot of people. The world premiere, that's the premiere for your film for the very first time in the world. It has never been shown before. And this is a very important notion as well. And by the way, I'm very skeptical to this idea of, having this premiere in 21st century. But it is a big issue for the big festivals. It is something very serious. It's a serious criteria for the most of the festivals, even though there are now a little bit easier on that, but they're still preserving this rule that some festivals require the international premiere to be held there. When the film has been shown, it's something that happens, like somewhere you have shown the film in a different program, for example, or the film has been shown in a different territories, not at the festival of this level, or it has been a special event show, not the first screening, but it's an international screening in the international competition program, then that it is called an international premiere. Even though I believe that right now in current times, why it used to be that important? The world premiere, why was that important for the big festival? Because it meant that there's going to be the distributors and buyers and the press from all over the world. They were the first to see the film. And then they were able to do whatever they wanted and to distribute it to where their business goes. Right now, we see that most of the film critics and most of the distributors, those big distributors and big buyers for the different television channels and the big distributing companies, they are watching the festival programs beforehand. So when the world premiere happening, they already seen it all. It's not a lot of people, there's not a big circle of people overall, but basically they already have seen it all, because now everything is much easier, everything is mobile, you don't have this opportunity, you don't have this need to go somewhere if you don't have a lot of businesses to cover in this specific location. But getting back to this concept of premiere, the national premiere is the premiere for of the film for the country where it has been produced. So it's its homeland. This is the national premiere. Yeah, okay. And the national premiere can have a couple of national premieres, as far as I remember, if there is couple of countries that have been working on the film. Yes, every country will have their own national premiere. Yes. But okay, if getting slightly back to the status before the premiere, so we have just recorded that in order to promote the film, you have to do the promotion as early as possible from the very beginning of the film work. But how to promote and what to promote when you do not have the script made, or you didn't identify the whole cast yet, or we have mentioned the treatment and the teaser, how you should do them, how you should emphasize the strong parts of your film, the already created parts of your films, and how do you create the strong scenes. And would like to as well get into Andrei Svetilnikov's question, because Andrei is asking you to tell a little bit more about the work in progress of section festivals, for example, like Trieste Film Festival, who has a strong work in progress section where you can meet the producers and sales agencies. So yes, please, the work in progress as well. Yeah, but it's a different stage. Yeah, so what you have been asking is basically something very different. It's a very, very starting stage. And work in progress, that is the final stage already. So when when the film is already created, or there is something that just a little bit of left. But so there's not that many film festivals at the film markets, and not that many programs that present the idea stage of the project, because it's quite clear that without the script, it is really hard, to argument why you have to make this choice. But it really depends on the project, because for example, let it be the film on some very important person. For example, like we had this idea to made a film about Harvey Weinstein. I do believe that people would get to this film straight away, because everyone would thought that this hyped topic, so this is something relevant and that would be very interesting to work on. So of course, if you have an idea like that, and if you have the idea like that, so of course you can emphasize and this part of your project. Or maybe if you have a very strong director, you already know that the director with you, but you don't have the script yet. Or maybe you have a strong script, but you do not have the director in mind. But it doesn't really happen that frequently, because it actually happens most of the time when this kind of projects are being presented already in the market. So yeah, basically you have to consider the projects. As you know, it's from project to project, it will differ, but you have to show your approach to how you're going to be working on this project. If you're already getting this application for this program, for example, in Odessa Film Festival, we had this festival once again when we had a program of the script ideas, and there was for the comedies, and you only have to apply with the one pager on the ideas of the film that you would like to do. So there was a short story of what you would like to do. That's, by the way, it's applicable for everything. I really like, in parentheses, I really like that's when the treatment or synopsis or any kind of presenting materials for the project is being reading, and the story is being told like, once upon a time there was something like this, but you will only know what has happened to them when you watch the film. It's not the story that you have to present. It's not a selling story. Well, you can use that if you would like to get people to the film, to the cinema when you're doing that. But in the professional communication and in the professional sphere, there's something that you should not do. You have to be very clear about what your idea, and like you have to say, and we have this kind of clear finale. There's going to be this plot twist. Here we're going to engage, like, I don't know, we're going to get some additional special effects working on there. So this is going to be awesome. So you have to tell it into the most of details. And it really depends on who's going to be presented that. If the producer presented this idea, then the producer have to show that they know how it will be done. They know that it's going to be realistic. They know that the producer knows that they're going to be able to make a film about space, or that they're going to be able to do the film in a desert, or they cannot make, a film with 2,000 extras in the pandemic period of time. So they have to show this idea how they can show it all. So the story may be very important. And here you will be able to say, like, I clearly know how to do that, but this is the thing that I lack. For example, I do need a good script doctor, or I do need a clearer understanding of what kind of format that will be. Maybe that will not be a feature film, but will be a series. So those kind of programs, they are there to keep on developing the project further on and to understand the overall direction of its development. Okay, just to sum it up, at the development stage, where there's not all of the things are already covered, we have to be very, very good in promoting on what we already know, of what has already been done, of what we're already sure about. And we have to clearly understand what has to be done more. Yes, right you are. So you see, this is the path that you have to kind of envision. Yeah, but getting back to the work in progress question, what are the good festivals for the work in progress sessions? The Warsaw Film Festival. That's kind of good there. The Wrocław Film Festival, they also have a good work in progress section. I never been there because it's always in the same timings when Odessa Film Festival was there, and the Karlovy Vary Film Festival. They all have work in progress section. Tallinn Film Festival, they have the Baltic event section as well, a professional industrial section as well. They also have the work in progress presentation, and Ukrainian films have already been there and they have been awarded there for the work in progress parts. Let me think of that. Istanbul Film Festival has a work in progress session as well. I think it's almost everywhere, almost all of the festivals we have. And in Ukraine, that's Odessa. Odessa Film Festival used to have the industrial section too. Documentaries, films, they're the DocuDays UA, they have the doc review program as well. Yes, and by the way, the Cologne Film Festival has a very good session for the group for work in progress. Just to add up to the question, and I can't remember in the Lizard there's also showing some work in progress as well. So I do hope that we have covered your question. So we have given you some couple of names to consider. Well, basically, there's a lot of questions already, and I can group those questions in some certain topics. Well, at least I can try to cover them in certain topics. For example, the question from Liva Bakar: can we show in the Ukrainian festival and the Ukrainian competition program? Can you show it in the film in Russian language has been created in Ukraine by Ukrainians? Will it influence negatively the festival destiny of the film, or should we revoice it? So Anastasia Sazonova also writes, okay, if I'd like to participate in the independent international film festival, should I write the script English straight away in English straight away? Or doesn't really matter what kind of language you're doing, or if you have subtitles. So this is basically two questions about language. So let us consider that as well in our local context. Okay, started with Ukrainian film festivals, the film that it was going to be made in Russia, whether you should apply. So basically for the film festivals that I am aware of in Ukraine, all of the films are being shown in the original language. So if the original language for your film is Russian and the film is being produced in Ukraine, then theoretically there will be no problems with that. Then it will all about the personal preferences. But by the way, it's not yet clear what the film is about. But the other things are basically depend on the personal evaluations of the selectors, of the people who are going to be evaluating the film. But we had those cases in Odessa Film Festival, and we've tried to evaluate the quality of the film first of all, but not to consider these moments of the language, even though we've had our own personal position. Well, at least for me, my civic position is very specific, and I do support Ukrainian language and Ukrainian films in that. But of course, this is something that exists right now, so we're not going to be ignoring that the films are being made. And last year we had a film that has been made in Russian, but there was a completely Ukrainian film. So yes, that is possible. On the legislative level, the festivals, they do not have this kind of restrictions about that. So the festivals, they do not receive, and by the way, in Russia, the festivals, they receive the additional distribution certificates. In Ukraine, the festivals do not receive the certificates for distribution or any kind of other documents. They only provide the list of the film that they have to show, they want to show. And by the way, there's no legislation, not the legislation in Ukraine on the state language, on the official language, or on the filmmaking does not regulate the activities of the film festival. So in the film festivals, there's no legislative restrictions to show your film if your film has been made in Ukraine and has film bill made in Russian. So from our side, from the Contemporary Ukrainian Film Cinema Organization, we are inviting you to create Ukrainian language content, but on the other hand, just still try to keep up with what your ideas are. The second question on the international aspect, should you make the film straight away in English? So if you're just writing a script, yes, and you're planning to do the film in English, then of course you have to do the script in English as well. If you are for the festivals, once again, the original language is the most important. So, and it's maybe my personal opinion about that possibly, but I do believe that the films that are trying to be made in English just because they believe that it's going to be, I don't know, more universal, if it doesn't have any reasoning in the story, it's just that they wanted to make a film in English. So that's not the best idea, once again, but this is my personal opinion, that it's much, much better to make films and to make it look natural for your key characters, for your story. And if you speak in Ukrainian, then that's perfect. Like, let it be a Ukrainian language film, and it's not going to influence the selection in no way. The more diverse the program is, the more diverse program in language-wise is the best. And by the way, we have already said that both the programmers, the selectors, they're really trying to show more. They're trying to cover the more territories and more diversity, and they're trying to show the local diversity, and they're trying to get the most of voices there. So that I do believe that you have to film in that language that is the most comfortable for you and the most organic for you. And there always this opportunity to translate it into the many different languages with subtitles. And yes, many people are asking about the different festivals. Maybe they have these ideas to end up the festival on different topical festivals. For example, Artem Pavelkin is asking us what kind of festival you should apply if you have a sci-fi film or comedies. Ravi Ravshan are asking us what kind of festivals should I apply the festivals for the amateur films. And Liva Barkar is asking whether we have the specialized festivals for women's stories. And before I pass the floor to Julia with answering this question, I would like to add up as well that there are a couple of resources to apply for the festivals. This is basically the Free Film Freeway resource, or the Without the Box resource. They will not only help you to search for the festival separately, but they're also creating this kind of a package deal. They're collecting the information and they're delivering your admissions to different festivals. And by the way, to the festivals of the A-listers festival, and to the different international festivals as well. And you'll be able to choose different festivals there, and you'll be able to filter even on the festivals according to the topic that you're interested in. You can get the keywords, key topics, and you can use that this way as well. So, but I'm going to pass the floor to Julia. That's basically what I wanted to say. It's basically what I wanted to say, because there's no sense, to name those resources specifically, because I haven't been to all of the festivals in the world yet, because there's a lot of festivals that exist. I know there are festivals from the amateur films, and even in Ukraine, by the way, I know that we have a festival for the amateur movies in the West Ukraine, I guess, somewhere in the western part. So they exist. And there's as well this festival for women film, female film as well in Germany, in Hamburg, and not the Hamburg film that we know, but there is Hamburg Women Film Festival as well. So Max has been right about it. There are many resources available, so I think that it's good. Like, there is the short film depot, and was one of the resources for the short films. That is, they have good resources on film festivals. And one of the resources that you can use for searching for some information for the film festivals, you can go to the film foundation sites for different kind of countries. There is this organization that like the Ukrainian Institutes organization. So for different countries, they have different cultural institutions that represent their culture. Like if for France, there's going to be the CNC site, or for the Institut Français, for Germany, that's going to be the German institution. So there are the institutions that promote the national filmmaking, and usually in their sites, there is this information on different kind of film festivals from their countries. So you can use it straight away. So you can go to those resources straight away, and there's usually the list that you can choose from. But those resources that Max has mentioned as well, you can apply to that as well. You can use them. You can see how many festivals are available, and you can filter it topic-wise as well. And yes, we have a question. Let us make it sure this advertisement minutes. So there is a question from Facebook from Alexander Chizhikov. Have you ever been to the DocuDice UA Film Festival? What have you liked in the recent years? So, I've never heard of it, never heard of it. Yeah, like never happened. But basically, yes, we can use this moment just to invite all of our audience to the DocuDice UA, the International Human Rights Documentary Film Festival. The festival is about to start in the end of this month. So you still have time to buy your tickets. Yeah, I have been there. Just answering the question, I have been there. I'm going to be there this year, and I would like to recommend all of you. So DocuDice UA, they are fabulous. I really love them. I'm just taking my hat off because for all of those, for their efforts and how they managed the situation in 2020. I always like how they deal with that. Some festivals, they have the specific topic, and DocuDice UA is changing their topic and emphasize an angle of view every year. I really like how they're choosing their topic, what topic they choose, and how they actually show it through all of the events, through all of the programs, through the selection of the films. And this is something that I really enjoy. This is something that I really love. I do have the deepest of respect to the people who organize it. They're really professional. I love them. So basically, this is a very cool festival. It's a very cool festival that keeps on constantly developing, scaling up. People know about that. You should visit this festival, promote documentaries. Maybe like 5 years ago, you would have thought that watching a documentary film in cinema sounds weird, but everything has changed. Everything has changed in the world, and I do know the DocuDays is keeping up with all of the trends, so I can only wish the festival the best. And yes, I would like to add up from my side that I really like this festival for their industrial section as well, for the industrial program as well, even because there are some certain peculiarities, but it's just started quite recently. But for the film that I have been producing, throughout the DocuDice UA, we have managed to find the co-producer for the film, and for the previous film of our company, we managed to find the sales agents as well at the DocuDice industrial section. So of course they had the very powerful industrial platform that is targeted for the Ukrainian authors, for the Ukrainian filmmakers. So I think you're not going to be feeling that comfortable, and you're not going to feel that support as you will feel at home. So I'm sure that you have to use that. I know there are just a couple of days left to buy the industry accreditation for DocuDice Film Festival. So please, if you're interested in that, make sure you buy it. A personal question, Julia, a personal question we have here in the comments, but I would really like it to leave it up to you whether you will answer that or no. Thank you very much for interesting masterclass. And Vladislav Kamensky is asking the question. I have read up about the scandal on the State Film Agency appointment that was some time later on. What is the situation right now? Are you going to be, whether it's now good for the directors of the short film to collaborate for the Ukrainian Film Agency outside of Ukrainian industrial context? I'd like, what do you mean, like a young director outside of the industrial context? I do not know what does that actually mean. Maybe this person is not really ready to be in the industry context if they're writing that. But Nevertheless, okay, I'm not going to be discussing this issue because it's not our topic right now to speak of the state agency yet. I'm still in the court process. We're still in the process in the court. But you know, all of the conclusions, you can draw all of the conclusions for yourself about the work of the state film agency for this year. But speaking on the directors who are just beginning to work in that, they have the pitch for both the short films and the full feature films. The pitching has been planned. So there is this opportunity to present your film. As far as I know, the budget has been presented for this year, but you have to be in the context of Ukrainian film process. Well, at least you have to find a producer who's going to be working with you, who's going to be working with launching of your script and the production of your script, the person who's going to be enjoying your story, who will like your story to work with that. And unfortunately, or fortunately, the state film agency, they have this requirement that to get the money for your debut film for a director, you need to have this professional education, not specifically from Karpenko-Karą University, but still you have to have the professional film education, the higher education. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but that's a very interesting question from Katerina Panach, and I would like to ask it the final one. So Katerina is asking how to build the festival strategy for a history short film. So basically for the costume for short film. And is there a sense to do that, understanding that the historical events in the film are going to be very local, and the film has had an award in Molodist film? Like, I'm sorry, that's not going to be the final question. I have just forgotten that we have people with raised hands here. But okay, let us just answer that. Yes, I'm going to answer this question quite. I'm going to try to do that. But okay, first of all, my congratulations for winning Molodist Film Festival. But then, from my experience, when my colleagues hear historical films, even on the stage of the project, then this is something that happens really, really rarely because it doesn't have this wow effect most of the times. So yes, there is certain assumptions and precautions today, or prejudice, how to say that. So there are certain barriers to the right comprehension of that. But of course, it might be interesting. And I don't know what kind of historical period you're mentioning in this very film. But for example, if we're going to be speaking about the new Ukrainian history, then of course that might be very interesting because on the overall level of the political situation in Ukraine in the recent 70 years and the overall interest to those events, it may be interesting, even though it won't be really historical, but it might be very, very complicated. But any kind of film is eligible to have its own festival story and festival faith, and I'm sure that every film can find their own place, can find their own niche. So why not? Why not? Because you can try to do that. You can try to track it. Because I'm not sure what kind of film you mean and what kind of story you mean, but why not? If I may add up to that as well, what is important in this case that you have to do that's timely, and you have to try out some couple of options, playing out on the success and bringing up the success. So yes, I do congratulate you on winning the national competition. What is very important as well, okay, so that's about the Ukrainian Insurgent Army. Okay, so you have to play it out. You have to then go through that to scale it up. And I would like to offer you to try out a couple of options and um, not trying to get into the narrow idea of international projects or international film festival, because if it's the topic on the Ukrainian history, so yes, then first of all and foremost, your main audience is in Ukraine, because the festivals, even though there are mostly even though there are mostly not maybe that much targeted for the commercial distribution, like more or less, but still the festivals, you still have to clearly understand who your audience is, what your audience is. And understanding that, you have to plan what's going to be the overall presentation for your audience. And those resources that we mentioned, you can also check out the festival for the historical films as well. And I'm sure that Ukrainian festivals will welcome you as well. So I would like to advise you to promote your films in many different Ukrainian festivals that do not request the festival career already. And you have had lots of festivals like that before. The next Molod is coming up, and you have a lots of other festivals that you can present your films on. And can we then ask the director of our stream right now to turn on the person who wanted to ask the question with voice, who had their hands raised? We don't have this person anymore. We don't have the raised hands no more. We don't have raised hands no more. Okay, good. No hands raised. Everything is clear. Good. Okay, then I guess we have a couple of questions in the Q&A section that we have already covered. What are the festival are mostly oriented to the young directors, the art house and author films? That's Andrei Kokura asking. And I think that's, yes, all of the festivals. Okay, all of the festivals, all of the festivals who do not have very specific topics like horror or sci-fi or all of the festival, if not specified, then all of the festivals are dealing with the author films. Just to mention that this is the Rotterdam Film Festival and Locarno Film Festival. Those are the ones that are even, saying it out loud. They're mostly dealing with debuts and, well, the main competition for the Rotterdam Film Festival, that doesn't take a lot of films into the main competition, but it's all made up on debuts. You're always reading out the program and you know nothing about it because it's all debuts. So, there's nothing that you can check out. You cannot take a look what the director has done before because it's all debuts. So there's one hand raised. One hand's raised. And we will do that. Okay. Yes, yes. Hi, good evening. Good evening. Like, I'm sorry for this noise outside, but the question is like, if you have an almost made short film that has been made with the professional actors but independently with our own budget, should you keep looking for some kind of sales agents or producers who will help us to go to get the film for the festival story or with distribution, or we should do that with our own pass? Okay, let us do it this way. I've got your question, but let us put it this way. So, with your own money, you mean like this is something like a bad thing or what? Like, oh, you didn't have the state included into that? No, I mean like when I don't have a producer who has but you are basically the producer. If you're, yes, I'm the director and the producer. Okay, but you're basically the director and the producer for your film. Yes, well, you should find someone. Yes, of course, because you should try to find the salesperson or the additional producers. Yes, we have those independent films that have been made without the participation of the state film agency, both for short films and the full length films. What's important moment that we haven't mentioned, by the way, at what stage you should actually show your film, and can you show the selectors your film when it's on the final stage, and when is the final stage happening? So when you can show it and when no. So this is important as well, because sometimes the people are getting really into a hurry and showing a film that is not watchable, and this is something that will ruin the impression. And sometimes when you're showing the rough cuts, and when the rough cut is being seen, then the festival already understand that they're going to be taking this film, even understanding that you're going to complete the film. So you have to get the right moment when you need to show it to the selectors or to the sales agents. So if you have lots of additional extra special effects and you're only showing the green screen, no sound, nothing is clear. So of course, if you're going to show a rough cut like that, this is not the best stage to show your film to the outside audience. But if if it's just a couple of small moments, but your story is clear, like for example, during the selection moment, you're not getting in time to provide the finalized film, then yes, you can show it. Yes, I've seen those films like that as well, and I will see one of those tomorrow, a rough cut already. But yeah, you have to get it clearer. You need to think about it, and you have to get to the right moment, because the sales agents and the selectors can be frightened away from that. Yes, okay, but the question is as well, should we keep looking for sales agents or the producers who had this experience for working with festivals, or should I just working with this application for the festivals on my own? Well, I believe it's the things that can be done simultaneously. You can do that in parallel. You can keep on looking for sales agents, and at the same time you can work with the festival story and festival promotions, and then someone will help you with that as well. But if you're in the final stage of production, then try to show it to some sales agents, try to listen to some feedback, and then you will understand, is it possible to do that or no. Maybe that film is not that big for them, so that it will, take that much of efforts to be covering that. Maybe that would be much better for you. We had this conversation on sales agents. It's not the magic pill. A lot of people are really saying not very nice things about working with them, and they're working on that depending on the scale of the film and depending on what are the main goals for you, what is the story, what kind of film you have. So it all depends. But I would like to advise you, well, to show your film at least to a couple of the sales agents and to listen to their feedback. And if no, then you'll always have the time to work on that on your own. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so then I think there will be the final question from an anonymous participant. Can you name the platforms that select films at the production level to give them some support? Okay, we have mentioned, as far as I remember, we have mentioned some of the ideas as well, if not to get to the ideas of the film foundations further on, because the main topic for our meeting today is the festival strategy for your film. So just not to get to the strategy of creating film, but still many festivals and industrial sections and they create the pitchings or the competitions. There's different ideas for the development stages. We have mentioned those topics a little bit, but maybe Yulia will add up at that as well. Well, as I've already said, that usually in the framework of the film industrial sections, there are certain awards that will be provided to the winners. For example, in Odessa Film Festival, we used to have the industrial awards. The main awards were the money that you could use for the development of your film and developing your project further on. So the same thing works for many other film festivals as well. There are a couple of film festivals, for example, where Eurimage has its prize there at 20,000 euro for the further on development of your project. In Sarajevo Film Festival, they have this kind of award. In Tallinn, they have, in Baltic event, they have this prize. In Istanbul, they have this prize. In Transylvanian Film Festival, they have it as well. So there is some certain list of these festivals that provide this award. There's not a lot of those, but they're as well provide this award. That is kind of very significant amount of money that you can use for the development of your project. But it is a prize. It is an award. You have to earn it. You have to win it. There is a jury that will evaluate it. But getting back to Rotterdam, for example, together with the Hubert Wells Fund, it's not a single structure, not a unified structure, but they're very interconnected. And in their case, it's about mostly funding the support for the film, but in the framework of their film markets, they also give you some opportunities in that as well. And yes, it was a very interesting issue of covering Svetlana Tarasova's question as well, because she has sent an additional question on giving some advice of how can you support your film project at the stage of idea. And by the way, Svetlana, I do hope that Yulia has just covered this advice as well. Yulia has mentioned a couple of festivals that give you this opportunity to win out the funds for your ideas, and you will have this opportunity to present your idea. Okay, getting back to the to the meat of our conversation, but you have to prepare your idea the best way, the good treatment, invest some money for creating teaser to show the people that you know how to tell the story, what this idea is about, how it have to be produced, how it has to be created, and you will win. And yes, and we will win as well. It will be happy as well. And all of the Ukrainian cinema will be happy about that. So on behalf of the Contemporary Ukrainian Cinema Organization, I am really grateful to Julia for today's participation, for this really tremendous, important webinar. I hope that all of our audience have received some new knowledge for today. They have had this magic punch and additional motivation to promote your films in the international and national domestic arena. So I would like to invite you to join to the next keynote Sarah that is going to be happening on Wednesdays. Next Wednesday, we're going to be reading out going to have the online reading for the short films that haven't been made yet. That's a very interesting event for me, and I believe that the script reading is a very intimate process, but it's a very important and productive for both the audience and the participants. So please join us and let us be doing that together. Thank you very much for joining us today. Yes, thank you very much, dear audience. Thank you very much, Maksym. Thank you for this conversation. I know that you would like to share your experience as well, and it will take another hour and a half. But because I know you have a lot of interest and experience, and you have your experience as both the producer and director. Well, yeah, only through sharing experience, this is a way for us to keep on developing further on. So yes, thank you very much. Yes, yes, thank you very much. Have a nice evening, all of you. Goodbye. Goodbye.